Functional programming. By the way, I like functional programming. I'm a functional programmer. I do a lot of functional programming. But do you know what functional programming is? Functional programming is programming without variables. How can you program without variables, you ask? Well, you don't use the assignment statement. You never change the value of an existing identifier. How can you possibly do that? You initialize variables and then you never change them. That's what functional programming is. Once you make that decision to never use a variable, everything else follows. All the recursion, all the first-class functions, all that stuff follows directly from that one decision. It's not a bad decision to make. It's very helpful. It can help you avoid race conditions. You know, if you don't change the state of a variable, you can't have a race condition. Well, that's not exactly true. You can have race conditions. Why can you have race conditions? Because functional programming is Turing complete. You can write any program functionally that you can write non-functionally. And since that's true, I could write, for example, a basic interpreter in a functional language. I could write a C interpreter in a functional language. I could write a Java interpreter in a functional language, and in all of those languages, race conditions are possible. So, you can still have race conditions, but they're harder. You have to do special things in order to have race conditions. So in general, functional programming is a very nice way to have pure functions that don't have race conditions, that can't involve themselves in concurrent update issues. It's not perfect. There's always a way to do it, but it does help. Now, if you're doing functional programming, does that mean you're not doing object-oriented programming? Are the two of them absolutely the opposite of each other? No, that's just so stupid. Right? Object-oriented programming is complementary to functional programming. You can have object-oriented functional programs. It's perfectly possible. In fact, it's desirable. You still do want to isolate your data into chunks that you might call objects, and you still do want to have polymorphic dispatch in order to change your dependencies and manage your dependencies nicely. You still want all of that. Even though you're a functional programmer, you still want all of that, right? Does this mean if you're a functional programmer that you can't be a procedural programmer? No, of course you're still a procedural programmer. Programs are procedures. A good programmer is a functional object-oriented procedural programmer.